ook uit de Verenigde Staten, is zeer, hoe zou ik het zeggen, zeer getalenteerd. Want we hebben al in allerlei reeksen gezien. En het meest recent natuurlijk in de nieuwe populaire films van The Hunger Games. Maar hij heeft ook al meegespeeld in Hawaii 5-0, in Heroes, Prison Break gaan we uiteraard niet vergeten. Dus ik wil een daverend applaus voor Mr. Robert Knepper!
How y'all doing? I'm doing this all by myself, aren't I? Oh no, you're dead.
Well, if you have a good story to start us off, that would be good.
You know, I've been acting for 30 years, and as a professional, and hearing you guys cheer like that, it makes you feel, oh, this is so good on the inside. It's always the same. Thank you. Very much. I'm going to tweak those pictures, by the way.
We have questions already.
Great.
Hi. Hey. First of all, I love your Prison Break. I think you're the best villain ever. Awesome. My question is, if you had all the power and influence in the world and you could pick an old TV show or old movie, you reboot it and star in it, which one would it be?
That's a great question. Well, I have to tell you, it may have come out in the press, I don't know. I don't always talk about personal things in my life, but this is a little personal story. It's very hard for me to answer that question because I grew up not watching television. And because I was believe it or not, I was a good little boy. And I listened to my father, and my father hated television. I'm 55 years old, I was born in 1959, and my dad grew up on a farm, and he said the farmers did not watch television in the Depression because they were poor. And he, like a lot of people, and my father is a very successful veterinarian, and he's not stupid, he's a really smart man, and he's now come to learn that there are many, many great things about television. But in the 60s, there weren't that many great things about it. So we literally had to sneak television. Like somebody would smoke a joint, sneak that, or somebody would, have a Playboy magazine to sneak. Would sneak television, and we would literally pull it. My sister and I would pull the television out of the closet, plug it in, and I could not wait to watch Dark Shadows. Dark Shadows was the shit. It was amazing, and Johnny did a movie about it recently, and it just wasn't that good. But in the old days, to play Barnaby Collins would have been pretty great, or to fall in love with Angelique would have been even more amazing. So that one, and that's really the only one I knew growing up. So there you go.
I with my brother here. I also have a question. In Prison Break, out of the 4 seasons, which one did you actually love to play most as T-Bag? If you would be so nice to answer me as T-Bag.
Hey, pretty. I'm gonna think on that. I have to say that, I didn't always get to have this list when I played T-Bag. I developed it over time. I'd say the first season was the best written of the whole 4 seasons. I can't do that anymore. I think the first season, and I think you all probably agree, the first season was the best written of the 4, and some of the best written storytelling, whether it was film or television, whatever, ever, anytime, because then when you first watch it, you had to wait a week. Now you can just binge on it. So that was great. I think for T-Bag, the second season was amazing because when I remember my family, my little boy lived in LA, and I would go home every 2 weeks from Chicago. And there was a guy who came up to me at O'Hare Airport in Chicago. And it was the morning after the episode where we had caught the prison guard, and we have to, T-Bag wanted to kill him, and the other guys wanted to just hold him. He's like, you gotta kill this guy. If we don't kill him, he's gonna tell about the hole in the wall behind the toilet. And T-Bag takes out his wallet, I don't know if you remember this, he pulls out these pictures of his daughter. And the director, yeah, and she was in a prom dress, right? And the, can we close that door? Is that possible? Yo, Mr. Guard over there. Thank you. So the director knew that I started doing this thing with my tongue. And the reason I started doing that thing with the tongue, by the way, is because up to that point, I had never grown facial hair. I didn't have whiskers. And it just took me the longest damn time to get used to having what we call crumb catchers on my face. So he said, what if you like licked the picture of the girl? And I said, no, that's disgusting. I mean, why would I want to? He said, try it. And at first I said, no. She didn't come home that night, did she? And I was like doing the thing where I started licking. And it was this girl, it was this teenage girl in a prom dress. And it was like one of the few moments where Fox said, okay, he's playing a pedophile. And we had once in a while let the pedophilia thing come out. And she really wasn't that young. She was like 16, 17 years old. This guy came up to me the next morning. Sorry, I tell long stories. This guy came up to me at the airport and he said, this was like a matter of weeks, like, because this show just exploded. And it had gone from people going, you look like that guy from Prison Break to, and then it would go to your T-Bag to your Robert Knepper. I mean, I'll never forget the first time somebody went, sure, Robert, let me just see if that coat's in your size, and I'll go in the back and I'll come back out again. It was a very quick. I've been acting for 20-some years before that show came out. This guy didn't even do any of that. I'm checking in at the counter, he walks by me and he goes, and I went, and he comes over to me and he says, so I'm watching this episode last night where you pulled a picture out of the wallet and you have the picture of the girl in the prom dress and you're licking the girl, and he looks at the television while he's watching the show and he goes, I hate that fucker. I hate that son of a bitch so much. I hate him. I want to kill that son of a bitch. And his 16-year-old son was sitting there and turned to his dad, trying to calm his dad down, and said, Dad, shh, he's just acting. He's just acting. He says, I know, but I still want to kill this son of a bitch. To go from that first season of people hating me. I was just shooting a film in Toronto, and my wife and I were eating at a sushi restaurant, and the sweet waitress came up to me, and she says, it's really hard for me not to spit on you right now. But what I loved about the second season, in particular, was all my mail went from, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, to, I really hate you, I still hate you, I want you dead, but I understand this character a lot more. And that's the genius of those writers, to be able to take that maleficent, malevolent character and to understand what made him do that, which is the greatest lesson for an actor, because you can never, if you're with good writers, you can never judge a character.
Yeah, so you see the reason for breakout games?
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually go back to the mother.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember my mother was on a porch, she was like an invalid. She didn't look anything like the mother in Prison Break, but it didn't matter because it was the idea that he cared so much about. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm going to make a career out of playing the disenfranchised, but I do feel for people that I was a little kid growing up. I respected my parents. I didn't do really anything that terrible, but I understood people. And then as you get older, you look at these poor sons of bitches that are in prison. And I don't look. If they killed somebody, forget it. You're not going to have my sympathy, but I empathize with you. I can feel for you and go, wow. And they make for very, very fascinating characters. You're welcome.
have any parts influenced you in real life, if any?
A real person influenced me, yeah. I played Bobby Kennedy about 13 years ago in a miniseries, and I was obsessed with playing Bobby Kennedy. I loved how he was basically a schmuck. The books talk about him being just a rude person. You know, thought that he had, he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. And we didn't really know him. He was more the sensitive kind of guy, and he let Jack and he let his other brothers, do the dirty work for him. But when Jack was killed, he came into his own. He was a true Greek tragedy character. And he was fascinating to try to play. And I've been obsessed with him ever since, and I'm still working on a story to put together for his 50th anniversary. And besides that, the most memorable thing for me is that until I played, he had 13 children. His last child he didn't even get to see. He was killed before she was born. And I wrote Ethel, his wife, after I played Bobby Kennedy. And it was a great honor to try to fill your husband's shoes. And I want to thank you because I never thought of having children before. And now I have this beautiful son because I played Bobby Kennedy. And it's all due to playing Bobby. Having kids, having a child and having children, any of you who have kids, you know, is the greatest thing that can happen to you in your life because it's, I love playing T-Bag. People always ask me, somebody asked me today, what's your favorite movie that you've done? What's your favorite television series? And I always say, it's the next one. And it's true, I love working, and what I realized by having my son is the most important thing in life is being a dad. And then I would say a husband, but it's pretty special. Yeesh.
Hello. Hey. How do you prepare for a part like T-Bag?
I have two ways of approaching it. And this is like a quick acting lesson in the States. People will say, are you a method actor? I'm as much a method actor as anyone else. I'm just not like Daniel Day-Lewis, where I'm in the part the whole time. I'm more like, I've heard Anthony Hopkins is like this. A lot of great actors are like this. When people on Prison Break used to say, the new people on the crew would say, here comes Knepper, he's joking, he's doing this, he's laughing. And then the other guys that were, really familiar with me, just watch, just hang on. And then as we're getting ready, and then it goes, and then I would get into it. I don't believe in staying in the character the whole time. When I need to be in the character, I do it. And the method is, there are basically two different approaches in America. One is you either do the Strasberg method or you do the Meisner method. And I'm a Meisner guy, which means we live truthfully under imaginary circumstances. In Strasberg's class, you are taught that it's all very real. I can't possibly have played T-Bag if I was real, because that would have meant that I had to, screw and kill 13 underage children. And there was no way I was going to do that, to play that part. People said to me, how can you play this part? You're a new dad. And the thing that I learned, though, I studied with Bill Esper in New York, a great Meisner teacher, Sanford Meisner teacher. And I remember when I moved to LA, I called Bill up and said, who should I study with? He said, nobody, don't study with nobody. Horrible New Yorker, grammar, English guy. But I latched onto this woman named Sandra Seacat, who taught the Strasberg technique, but she also did a lot of, it was kind of funky. She did she was Mickey Rourke's coach as well. And she did a lot of dream analysis, which I know sounds really kind of like, oh, we're gonna check my navel here for a second, but it really was great because you could actually, it helps out a lot of things, writing, directing, career choices. she helped teach actors to say, there's only one Robert De Niro, there's only one Meryl Streep. Don't try to imitate those people. Be yourself. How do you be yourself? You got to get into your subconscious. How do you get into your subconscious? Your dreams. So we'd write letters to ourselves at night, and the assignment was always similar. I still use it sometimes. Dear inner self, please show me in a dream tonight what you would like me to know for my audition tomorrow for Theodore Bagwell in the show, in a new series called Prison Break, so that I may be closer to you, meaning my inner self. And then during the night, whenever you have an impulse to wake up, if you have a dream, whatever, or you wait till the morning, you don't monitor yourself, you don't watch yourself. And I woke up and I wrote, "Be charming." And I thought, yeah, that's all I have to do, is have to be charming. That is sweet. That made everybody. And let the bad stuff, the bad guy stuff, because this guy wasn't going around saying, "I'm a bad guy. Yeah, I'm really bad." He's like, "I love you. I got all the pocket over here." You know, he was like so like. And the president of Fox told me when he cast me, he said, "I went for the little guy." Because the big guys, you would think, yeah, they're going to hurt you, but who would think that the little guy could do that? I had a teacher at Northwestern University who was such a bitch. She had this beautiful Southern accent. I didn't pick the Southern accent. It was written. The guy was written to be from Alabama. He was also written to be 250 pounds with a gold tooth, which was not me. She used to say things like, "I want you to," if some student got up, some horrible actor or actress, she'd say, "I want you to get off the stage and never darken it with your appearance again." And then she'd say, "I'm sorry, am I being a bitch?" Or she would like, cut you with the words. And that's any role, you'll see anything I do with accents, or any actor does, when you get words, really play with the words. I love words. What else?
Maybe you can tell us a little something about the show Arrow.
Arrow, I have to admit that when I was offered this part, I didn't know this character that I played, who is a DC comic character called Clock King. And my wife actually Googled it and said, "You should kind of look into this, because, you know, there's some people that are going to be following this, and you should know who this guy is." So I looked at all the pictures of how he had been portrayed before. They had a little stint on Batman for a while. Kind of a portly gentleman. I don't remember seeing it. That was the other one we used to sneak, as well as a kid, to watch Batman. But we had our own version of it, and I remember asking the producer, I said, "How close do you stick to the characters, or are we free to go off?" And he said, "We're doing both. They are an inspiration for us, and then we then we move on." The real cool thing about it is they asked me to come back and do Flash. So in Arrow, the character has a sister who's very sick, and he's robbing the bank or something, all this money, to help his sister out. My sister in real life, asking how I use things or how I use an act, I have a sister who I dearly love, who's 2 years younger than me, who is in the throes of horrible MS, multiple sclerosis. In fact, we're raising money now to help her go through this treatment down in Mexico, which is not recognized by FDA yet. You'll see it on my Twitter soon. I'm about to break it out. So dig in there, not just for my pictures, but to help out my sister. It'd be greatly appreciated. And so it was very easy for me as Talkman to say, "Okay, I'm doing this for my sister. I'm doing this for my sister. She's gonna die. She's gonna die." My sister's not gonna die yet, but she's very sick. She's very debilitated. In Flash, I can't give it away because we can't talk about it, but it's all centered around the sister, and Talkman kind of goes off the deep end a little bit. So you'll see an interesting transformation of the character. I can't say anything more about it, but it's really cool.
You've been on a lot of famous TV shows that are airing in Belgium as well. But recently you were also on the silver screen as Antonius in the hugely popular Hunger Games. What was that like as an experience for you?
Okay, so just so you know, Hunger Games is watching somewhere in this room, so I have to be very careful what I say. I did a little press last year for Arrow, and they were like, "You can't talk about that show. You can't talk about that." So all I can say is that I had an amazing time. I've never done this before, but my neighbor in Venice is an amazing creator, art director for movies, and I knew that he had designed the Hunger Games, the 1 and 2. I was like a mafia family guy. Say, "Yo, Phil." I looked out my window and said, "Yo, Phil, you're doing the next Hunger Games. Is there anything in it for me?" I mean, I always have my agent do this. And because of my son, who loves Hunger Games, I said, "Why not? I'm just going to try it." He said, "I don't know." He's looking up at me at the window. He said, "I don't know, let me talk to the producer." And he gave her my picture, and I don't remember if she knew me or not. But she said, yeah, I don't think she knew Prison Break. She said, "Yeah, I think he could play a bad guy." Imagine me playing a bad guy. It's amazing. And the next thing I know was I was doing it. I didn't tell you I was playing a bad guy in it, though, did I?
Hello. Just a small question about the Hunger Games, because you're playing Antonius, and I read the books, but you're not in it.
Yeah,
Sure.
The funny thing is, they didn't tell me that at first, right? I'm reading these books going, where the hell?
Was it especially written for you then, this part, or?
No, it was especially written for somebody. I don't know if it was written for me, but yeah, it's fun because I don't think they did that before in the other movies. And I hear it looks very good, the movie.
Hi. When you watch your own performances, for example, when you watch your performance in playing T-Bag, how is your reaction? Are you surprised you could play someone? How you could transform yourself, your character? How you could be a character if you were like, oh, I could have done better than this?
Yeah, I didn't used to like watching myself as a younger actor. Bill Esper wrote this book that he gave to me when I went to his class. I was shooting a film that looked good on paper. It didn't end up looking that great in the film, called R.I.P.D. And I don't know what happened on that film, but anyway, I was honored to do a symposium for his class. And he gave me his book, and in the book, he said, "You're not really an actor until you've been in the business for about 20 years. And I really think it's true. In the 20 years that before, it was very hard for me to watch myself because I don't think I was very good. I was okay. I was more of a pretty boy when I was younger. And you'll see on my desk, there's a picture of me with in Star Trek. It was the first job I did. Nice long hair. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Then, I don't know. After about 20 years, I thought, you know what? I'm kind of investing more in this. And by the time I did Prison Break, it is so different than who I am that I actually got a kick out of watching it. I would watch it with my family and go, it's pretty good. But yeah, prior to that, I don't. And I always know if I watch something, just like there are basically two different schools of acting. There's the imaginary route and the, oh, I had to live this every experience. Actors, we tend to, hopefully, we always do jobs that we just very much care about, that we care about the character and the story. sometimes there are only 2% of us in the union that make over $100,000, and there's only 1% of us that make, I think, over $1 million a year. It's very tough. So sometimes you have to go the other road, where it's, I'm doing this job because I like the character, but it's helping pay the bills. So sometimes when I've done those, I go, I wish I didn't have to do that, but I got to pay those bills. So I'll be the prostitute for that particular project, and I try to make it as meaningful for myself as I can. They can't always be, the great quality shows. We try, but it doesn't always happen.
Any more questions? Yeah.
Hello. Are there more programs which you are going to do?
Am I what's that?
Are there more projects you're going to do?
No, I'm never acting again.
This is the best of it.
That's it. Sorry. I just finished a huge miniseries down in Mexico. I don't know if it played over here, but it's the same people that did one last year called Hatfields and McCoys with Bill Paxton and Kevin Costner. It's the same writer, same crew, everything. This one is about the formation of Texas back in the 1830s. It's called Texas Rising. Roland Joffe, the great film director who did The Mission and The Killing Fields, directed it, and it is a huge project. Again, a very, very different character than I've played before. Hunger Games is coming out. I'm going to New York on Tuesday. They start shooting a new series called Public Morals with Ed Burns, who I worked with on Frank Darabont's series last year called Mob City. It's about 1964 vice squad cops in New York. It's very much like a Sidney Lumet, Serpico kind of feel to it. I just shot a film in Toronto called Cold Deck with Paul Sorvino, and I'm going to put this out there even though he may hate me. I've seen Quentin Tarantino now twice for his next movie, and the motherfucker better cast me in it, that's all. And you know what? The cool thing about it is, if he doesn't, he'll get me down the road. I don't know, because I know he really likes me, and when you get to be Quentin Tarantino, I was just up for a Spielberg movie, and I thought I was going to get that. It didn't happen. But I'm on the radar. So it's not like they suddenly are going to change their minds and go, I hate that guy as an actor. It's just they can be very specific about, I want this shade, I want that little color. So we'll see. Yeah.
I'm afraid our half hour is already up.
Oh, I talk too much. Sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time. Robert Knepper!